My baby boy! With the Bears, they started this new tradition last year where they celebrate their wins the correct way.
Waddle and Sylvie, ESPN 1000, don't miss it.
I know what you mean.
It's like their own Philly.
Okay. Okay, I think what it is.
We shouldn't be showing this. Am I crazy?
What a great sign that is. What if I told you 17 minutes of rain would wash away 108 years of drought?
Do you see this team growing into the team that you were in 2005?
Great practice, everybody.
All I gotta say is, Greg Braggs, you are ridiculous.
Bears win! Nick Foles is in! My guy Trubisky is out! What the hell just happened, Jake? How did we do this? How did the Bears find a way to shock you every week?
Unbelievable.
For 3 years now. For 3 years. Every game is a heart attack. Every game I lose 10 years of my life. So in dog years, I have lost 340 days or years of my life watching the Mitch Trubisky-led
Did you do the math on
Chicago
that?
Bears.
That's pretty impressive.
And now, in the blink of an eye, he's gone. And now it's Nick
He's
Foles.
gone.
Big,
like he never existed.
Big D Nick, as they say. I don't know what to think. He comes in at first. I always used to say it's not all on Mitch. It's all on Mitch today because he's gone, and now Nick Foles is in, and I was so at a loss. I was shocked that Matt Nagy had the balls to bench him when he did, because Mitch Trubisky led them back to a comeback week 1. That's how this game was smelling out. I posted in the first half on Twitter. Anybody that doesn't think this game isn't going to come down to the last play again is fooling themselves again. This is who the Chicago Bears are. But little did I know the quarterback was going to get switched. What a call by Matt Nagy. Regardless of what my opinion is on, the inconsistencies of this offense or whether or not it should be Mitch or Foles, he made the right move at that moment because, while the first couple series were rocky, they ended up getting the win. And as a Bears fan, that's all I care about. They're 3-0 now. 3 miracle games, it feels
unbelievable.
like. Somebody pointed out it feels very similar to the 2001 Bears when Mike Brown had the back-to-back interception for touchdown and overtime games. And it just felt like this team, that was a team of destiny, even though they may not have been the most talented team with Jim Miller as their quarterback. That's kind of what this team is starting to feel like. They're 3-0, have an absolute opportunity to make the playoffs. I don't care who the quarterback is if we win a Super Bowl, ladies and gentlemen. I am very disappointed that Mitch Trubisky couldn't be that guy. But let's not fool ourselves here, Bears fans. This is a long season to go. We don't know, if we'll see Mitch again. But that's left to be determined. For right now, Nick Foles is the guy. There's no way he's not.
No way he's not starting
he's
next
the quarterback.
week. Not
That's
happening.
not even a question. He earned that by winning that game at the end. Mitch lost that opportunity by not stepping up against an injury-plagued Falcons team. I said all week it felt like a trap game, and then it turned out to be exactly that in the first half. They underestimate, even though Julio Jones is out, I don't want to say underestimate. It's just how it happens in football. You have all this stuff on paper that says they're going to get romped, and it always goes the other way, especially as a Bears fan. We know this, and it started out right away. Missed field goal, and then a touchdown the other way for the Falcons. And I'm sorry, this league is a game of inches. Legacies and narratives are determined by those inches. So yes, Mitch Trubisky had some unfortunate luck. Drops in different ways, all these little circumstances, but that doesn't change the fact that when your opportunity is called and you have that deep ball to hit to Anthony Miller right before halftime and you don't hit it, that's a mark against your resume. And when you got a guy like Nick Foles waiting in the wings, you can't make those mistakes. Then the second half rolls around, you still have an opportunity to take advantage of where you are as the starting quarterback, and you throw a terrible pick across the middle. And
Awful
for Matt
pick.
Nagy, he's got to do what he's got to do. He doesn't.
He had no touch today. He had no touch on the deep ball whatsoever. He wasn't reading the field very well. It was taking too long to process and get things done. I mean, that's one thing you noticed right away when Nick was in. This decision was made in like 1 or 2 seconds. He knew where he wanted to go with the ball, and that's something that I think is a big difference maker as opposed to himself and Mitch. 100%. When he pulled in Foles, I tweeted, I said I'd give Mitch one more drive, and then I'd seriously consider Foles, even if you go back to Mitch the next week. He went one drive sooner, got it in, and I mean, the rest is history. They got that touchdown stolen from him. I'm still a little heartbroken about that. Not that I care anymore, but I feel like that should have been tie goes to the receiver in that instance that got that one taken from him. I was very distraught about this ref crew. They were just killing the Bears across the board all day long. And for them to come in and get the dub after all that, man, I was absolutely...
This is a typical Bears team that we see here in the last 20 years of my lifetime. The Bears always have 1 year every 5 where they start winning games they shouldn't. They play teams that have injuries, and all the luck and all the fortune falls their way. And this is that team. And we're going to see how far they can take that. And maybe they can turn that momentum into something. Hey, the Philadelphia Eagles and Nick Foles 2 years ago in 2017 or 3 years ago now are prime example of just taking advantage of an opportunity. You don't have to be the New England Patriots to win a Super Bowl. So let's see how it plays out. It was a shocking turn of events, and then even more shocking for them to come back and win in the way that they did. So we'll talk about all of that. But
Unreal.
Let's bring on our special guest for today. I've been really starting to get to know these guys here in the last couple of years. here on Bears Twitter. They're great Chicago sports fans, and they join us now. They're from my guys from Deep Dishin Sports, Eli and Bruce, and here's their little graphic. You guys got to make sure you guys follow them along on Twitter and all social medias, YouTube. They do a great show. They've been going live lately, talking all Chicago sports, so make sure you guys hit them up. We're going to talk some Bears today. So what do you guys think, after everything, you guys have been through all the fights on Twitter with Mitch versus Foles, and who would have thought this would be the week? What is your reaction? The Nick Foles era has officially begun.
Man,
B, you want to go first? Yeah, you go first.
Yeah, because I threw a temper tantrum. watching Mr. Trubisky just keep making the same mistake, and I'm just like, all right, I'm not watching this game no more. And then Nick comes in, and one thing that you saw is the opportunities that he gave wide receivers to make plays. And that was the one thing where I was just like, man, especially with Allen Robinson, and I know he got robbed in the end zone, but just the fact that our wide receivers was able to make plays on the balls that Foles that he put up there. So, I mean, I think personally, just barring injury from Foles, that I think that's the last time we've seen Mitch Trubisky. Unfortunately, Greg, I know that hurt, man, but I think that was it. I think that's it, man.
Well, that just before we get to Eli, that's just the thing to me. I don't think, unfortunately, this is the last we see of Mitch, and that is for that reason. And I don't speak that into existence. I do not root for that. So anybody thinks I'm a Mitch ball washer rooting for a Nick Foles injury for this to happen, I am not. But it is stating a fact that Nick Foles has never played 16 games in his career. 12 years in the league, the most he's ever played is 11 games. So that's what Nick has to prove. Not only that he can prove Nagy right in running the system, and it's clear, it looks like he knows it better than Mitch after what we just saw. What he more needs to prove is that he can stay healthy throughout the whole season, and it's on Mitch to stay ready. Because anything can happen. Mitch went out a couple times, and the backup quarterback always is the most popular, but I don't think it's going to be that way this time for as much as people hate Mitch in this city. So, but he does have an opportunity if something were to come along, and if he came in and showed a better spark. That's a big if and down the road, but I do not think this is the last we've seen of Mitch, but that's a story for another day. So Eli, what are your thoughts here now that the Mitch Trubisky era seems to be over, and the Bears are 3-0 with Nick Foles as their starting quarterback? Where do you see this going now?
That's a very interesting question. I mean, yeah, just to talk real quick on Trubisky, I totally agree with Bruce. If there's one thing about Mitch's game that if he had, you can give us a little bit of hope, is his deep ball. It's like, my God, his deep ball. It just doesn't even give any of our receivers a chance. And I tweeted that out as well, and I even retweeted it with a recycle saying, because it was all game, and we saw that in Detroit as well. Besides the game winner to Anthony Miller, the deep ball in that game was bad.
Sure.
But I think, and you guys can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but it just seems like Matt Nagy was just completely ready. He was like, he had that finger on the trigger to pull out Trubisky as soon as he got the chance.
Do we want to see Mitch at the podium? He just pulled
let's
up.
do
You
it
want to
right
see
now.
it?
Do it.
Absolutely.
All right, let's see what it says.
My baby boy.
Exactly. Like he's had mine, and the situation sucked, but it was just the flow of the game, how it was happening. Coach made a decision that he felt was best for the team.
Are we muted, Jake?
I'm really happy for this.
I think it's just quiet.
They battled back.
Just curious.
It was awesome to get a W, but it sucks to get news like that. But that's just how it goes. I just got to control what I can control.
Pat Finley.
Mitch, what did you see or not see on the last interception there?
The defender.
I was just working through my progression. I didn't see the defender in front of Jimmy, and we just weren't on the same page. I was trying to give him the ball going out the backside, and I didn't see that defender in front of him. So I just got to see in front of the throws and make better decisions, and obviously got to play better to keep my job. So if it all falls back on me for not playing better in the first half, and when you have crappy plays like that, then you put it out of your hands, and it is tough.
Mike Berman.
I'm surprised he's up here right now, honestly.
Me too.
What
kind of ballsy
psychologically? How do you attack things going from here? You know, when you get to practice, do you think that you will have an opportunity to start? Do you think you deserve it, or do you think Nick has earned the opportunity to start now?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just going to approach practice, trying to perfect my craft, trying to get better. Always being there for my teammates, and this is still a team first game. So whoever is first, if Nick's the starter going forward, that it is what it is, and I got to have his back just like he had mine. So it's always team first. And but while we're at practice, I got to just continue to get better, work on my craft, and make sure I'm pushing my teammates.
I'm gonna get
I'm still a leader on this team.
I was gonna say that question was really weird.
Yeah,
he,
it was.
He
weird.
answered it
Yeah.
perfectly. I mean,
Yeah, I mean he's nicest guy in the world, you know, in many respects. But at the end of the day, it's who wins you football games. And,
right.
And what are you gonna do about it? You know,
But
I
credit
mean,
to him for stepping up at the podium and answering
Yeah.
the questions.
I never had a doubt he would do
I
that.
got a lot of love for all the defensive players on this team, Khalil Mack included. And this is no slight, but at the same time, those guys wouldn't go to the media and field questions
Not at
after
all.
tough losses
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah, for sure.
And every time Mitch played like crap, he'd step up to that podium and take questions, and then have everyone drag him in the street like they're going to do today. But he stood up there and stood tall and answered the questions and answered the bell. It is what it is. But hey, Nick Foles, man, how about it? You know, when he first came in, because for me, Nick Foles isn't a world beater. That was my whole argument in the offseason when I thought Mitch should get the start first, because to me, is Nick Foles a long-term answer? I think that sounds a little, I didn't like that. To me, I thought Mitch, either get Mitch to figure it out, and then Foles is a security blanket like we just saw today, or, you know, just wipe the whole slate clean. Now, the first part of Foles in those first two series, I was scared. He's throwing into triple coverage. He rolled out at one point and threw into triple coverage. I'm like, if this is the Nick Foles, and I was like trying to be fair and give him my Greg excuses and be like, well, he just got in there. Slow down here. And then all of a sudden in the fourth quarter, you start seeing these throws. Even on the throw to Anthony Miller at the end, that's under duress. He's hit as he's thrown, and it's a dime ball.
Throw.
So,
and it's a fourth down throw.
My biggest question to Eli's point about Mitch not hitting the deep ball. At one point, my mom was sitting next to me. I'm living at mommy's house now that I had to sell my place. I'm trying to buy a new place. And I asked her, I go, you know, when we throw deep, it seems like our guys are blanketed. And we all want to be the Chiefs, right? That's what we want. And
but it was single coverage.
Their guys are wide open all the time. And, you know, I'm like, where is that for us? Because every time we throw, it's a one-on-one sideline deep ball and the guy is on him. But then when Nick Foles came in, after those first couple tough series, you saw that Ted Ginn route on the cover 2 to the right side, then the deep ball to Anthony Miller. Now all of a sudden I'm seeing a little separation and balls being hit in place. Because as a fan, you only see the first 15 yards. You don't see what's going on downfield until Wednesday when the all 22 comes out. So for all of us to be like, who's open downfield? You don't know. Like somebody's like, look at the film or look at the tape. He's missing guys. Well, I can't see the tape until Thursday. So I don't know who's open. Now Foles is showing us who's open. Anthony Miller open in the end zone to win the game. Hey, that's like, we just need competent quarterback play, and this team is going to make the playoffs. And if you make the playoffs, anyone has a chance.
And what do you think? I mean, like Bruce, what do you think? Do you think that's just Foles being that veteran, knowing timing? I mean, when he's making some of these throws, like Greg said, you're not seeing what's going on down the field. But if he's making the throw at the right time, when these guys are getting that separation, do you think that's a difference maker?
Oh, definitely. And then one thing you notice also, and you know, with Atlanta's defense. So, you know, earlier when Trubisky was when he was at quarterback, you know, the Falcons defense, you know, they gave Mitch different coverages. Hence why he threw that interception. But and Mitch he didn't pick it up. But when Foles was the quarterback and they tried to throw different defenses at him, I mean, you just saw the difference. And that could be experience. That could be the fact that Foles have probably seen every defensive coverage there is. But, you know, it's what you do when you see that coverage that makes the difference. So for him to, man, I mean, just just some of the throws that last touchdown you all talked about to Anthony Miller. I mean, that was right there.
Absolutely.
And so it's just, I think it's just experience and just making the right throw when it matters. And for me, like, we just didn't see that enough with Mitchell Trubisky.
Right. How about you, Relay? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I also think it's maybe as simple as Mitch Trubisky just can't read defenses. Like, and then when you put in a QB who can read defenses, albeit to Greg's point earlier, Nick Foles isn't the long-term solution, I think, for us, but he's much more of a competent quarterback than Mitch is. So you put in a QB who can read defenses, and he makes it look like, it's like night and day. It's like,
right.
Wow, a quarterback can do this.
I don't think anybody is thinking Nick is a long-term solution, but I think if he does keep this job and they keep winning games and whatever it may be, he does give you that bridge. He's an excellent bridge quarterback if he can keep it together through the next year when you develop somebody new. Because at this rate, Mitch is probably his chance is probably gone now, unless for some reason there's injury or something happens. He comes in, he balls out. He's probably not going to be on this team next year. So I think Foles does give you that. I think, what is he, like 33 years old, 34 years old?
Sounds right.
Foles.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's a player option going into next year. So, and he's such a nice guy. Even if he balled out, he'd probably stay here, but you kind of get scared about what you would, and this is way projecting, but if he played really well and continued on what he did here in this fourth quarter, you'd have to pay him at the end of the year, probably.
Right.
I don't know what he'd ask.
I thought he was on 2 years.
No, I'm pretty sure it's a player option to end this season. So he would he could opt out if he chose to, good or bad. He could opt out if Mitch had balled out, or he could opt out if he balls out and wants more money. So,
well, I'd be surprised if Nick had a starting opportunity elsewhere, unless he absolutely like breaks some Bears records in the next.
That won't be hard to break Bears records,
right? But he'd have to throw for 4,000 yards and go, for in 13 games.
Who else?
He only had
Jake. Is Akeem up there?
Oh, it kind of ended. Let me see. Akeem's up there. Yeah.
You want to pull him up for a second if you want. No big deal. Might as well. This is our first couple post-game shows, and we didn't pull any presser the first couple weeks, so we're learning how to play with it.
Yeah, I really wish I could. Nagy was over by the time we really started talking.
Yeah, it takes me forever to get going. I gotta after seeing my child, be pushed away and thrown to the bench.
The time that they missed. What kind of, what'd you see on that play? And then overall your game, I think you had 5 quarterback hits. What was working well for you?
Keem's been a beast.
We were doing a lot of things up front, and you got to contribute your own personal success towards your teammates, especially when you're, for a defensive line, there's so many scenarios where you have to work together, and you have to work as a unit just as the offensive line is attempting to. So on occasion, when you're getting a huge slide to your side, you got to be able to say, hey, I'm going to ask my teammate to cover me in here, or I'm going to give him freedom so he can come around and do what he does. And I think collectively as a front seven, we played really well together today.
Dan Wiederer.
Akeem, I'm wondering how mystified you were by that little yellow flag that came out and when it got you for roughing.
You can't be upset. You can't be upset. You got to take it because everybody's going to get a call that they're not in favor of, during the course of the game. But that's a tough one, man. I'm just playing football, and there's no ill will towards anybody. I am trying to be physical, but there's no ill will and just bad intention, right? So you accept the call for what it is, but I think I can speak for, the people that watch the game, and they want to see people get hit. They want to see the quarterback, roughed up a little bit. You don't want to stay in the pocket and just go on vacation. You want him to feel you around him. So I accept the call for what it is, but I would hope that we would look at that sometime maybe in the offseason and say, hey, let's let him hit the quarterback for a second.
Yeah, that crew did not want them to just play football today whatsoever.
Akeem, Coach Nagy said he sees something special in this team. Cool. What quality?
So, yeah, I mean, the refs were pretty brutal today. I mean, the touchdown they took away from A-Rob was really frustrating. Before that, there were so many calls that just never seemed to go the Bears' way. I mean, that roughing call that was on Hicks, he did make contact with him, but it was in the motion of him falling.
Right.
So it
Yeah.
wasn't his hit. It
I
wasn't
don't
like
even think the ball was completely let go yet when
Yeah,
he hit him
and
either. So.
yeah.
Akeem
So
and
I mean,
that
these
dude were fighting all game too. I thought that one guy, he kept going back. Did you see that in the first half with
Yeah.
the offensive?
Mhm.
I thought he was gonna kill that dude. He was gonna make him cry at one point. I swear.
Yeah, and that call when Khalil Mack got that strip sack and they called
Yes.
Edwards on that
Yeah.
roughing, that was rough. I mean, I
Yeah.
get it. He hit him in the head, but it was in the motion of going down. You saw
Right.
Matt Ryan go, and the ball was out too. He fumbled already. So it's like,
Only the Bears in the game-changing moments can find a way to have some amazing positive play happen for them, and then like 3 minutes later, they're giving the ball to the other team and then giving them like 20 extra yards. It reminded me of when they got the touchdown and then they like looked at it and it was like actually the other team's ball and we reviewed it and then that ended up becoming their ball because of it. Like only the Bears find a
crew
way.
was a mess. I mean, not
Yeah.
even they did that. They had the fourth down call, or I'm sorry, the third down call when they were going into fourth down, and then they said, "Hold up, there was no flag. It was actually a 5-yard penalty on the third down. So now we're going back to it was. I mean, like they were
the
crew was
offsetting penalties
awful.
too.
Yeah.
Both penalties
The
on the Bears.
offsetting
They
ones,
offset.
They were both on the Bears, but they
Yeah.
offset it. You know, it's just
So
the
here
crew was a mess.
Here was the thoughts from Bears fans in the third quarter when the switch was made, and no one had any hope for this team. And it's so funny because how do we never learn as Bears fans? Year in and year out, game in and game out, we'll be at halftime and it'll be either we're throwing a parade or we're doom and gloom, and no one ever sees that the water always finds its level with the Bears, always. And it just here it was again. I'm surprised it didn't come down to the final play. Came down to the final 2 minutes, of course. But what are you guys' thoughts with this too? Mitch, do you guys see it? Short of an injury, neither of you see it. Yeah, my bad. I forgot. I thought
It's all good.
I thought I had a different question up, but yeah, I am surprised. The only thing with Mitch, with Nagy pulling him, and I just read on somebody said on Twitter that Nagy didn't even tell Mitch. Somebody else told him that he was not going to be starting the next series. I think that's kind of whack.
Wow.
But why? So you're right.
Oh man,
Greg.
Why didn't he do it week 1? That's my question. Why
Do
not
what?
halfway through the third quarter when he had that fumble, when he rolled out and fumbled? That was when you pull the guy.
Man,
I'll go ahead,
Go
B.
ahead. Okay. I mean, I don't know, man. I just timing, I guess. Timing is everything. I mean, it's just one of those things where it's just in this specific game, when Mitch was in the game, you just didn't have that feeling that he was going to lead this offense. And then, like, especially after the interception, like I was just like, here we go again with the simple, trying to reading the defense, and when he throws an interception. And so I don't know, maybe it was just feeling. I mean, when we said it earlier, like it's, it takes balls to make a decision like that in the middle of the game. So I think it's just timing and just that feeling as a coach where, you know what, this is just not happening. What happened the first 2 weeks, I just don't see it happening here. And so shout out to Nagy for just making that call.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think, and me and Bruce talked about it earlier on in the year on our podcast, but we had a vision of Mitch's leash, and we thought it was a lot longer than this. And I saw JJ on your guys' show a couple days ago. Even he thought Mitch's leash was a lot longer, and I thought it was going to take a lot more than this. Than a week 2 come from behind, or a week 3, being down, just like they were in week 1. So I don't know. I thought it was going to be a lot longer than this, but I understand 2 things: that someone's seat is getting hot. I don't know if that's Ryan Pace's. I don't know if that's Matt Nagy's. If it's both of them, and then also I think Matt Nagy really just never wanted Mitch as his quarterback to begin with.
I think it's fair. I think it's also having excellent awareness of where your quarterback's at in that moment, because Mitch did not seem to have it going into that third quarter. When he threw that pick, that might have been kind of like, okay, we have a chance to win. I need to make a change because Mitch is a bit deer in the headlights right now, and it's pretty apparent. He's taking sacks he shouldn't be taking.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one thing I was worried about. And I mean, that is the one thing that Mitch has that Foles doesn't. Foles isn't making that 45-yard scramble.
No,
That's not
Right.
happening.
Right.
But one thing I was worried about was how they were going to protect with Foles in, because Mitch can get out of things that Nick probably can't. But the decision making and the quickness of those decisions were the difference, because
Makes
the
up
line
for it,
held
yeah.
up really well, but he was also getting the ball out really fast. So that's a big difference right there. And if you can process the field like that, that's a huge difference between the two guys.
And I really hope your Tariq Cohen news isn't true, because man,
That's what
would
they
that be
say.
killer for Nick Foles and what he does, because it's
I
a
like
touchdown
the way that they were.
to check down offense that Matt Nagy wants to run, and Nick Foles runs that to perfection. He saw a lot of check downs, and then at the end you saw the touchdowns, and Tariq Cohen would have eaten up. That. So
that's
I
it.
really
It looks
hope
like that's. I think Nagy kind of confirmed he thinks that that's the issue.
Cry.
So So we just have to see what Darren Sproles is doing, because he might be chilling. You know, we don't know.
Man alive.
Yeah. Or Kareth White. I wouldn't mind.
Kareth White. Yeah, we were talking about that
because I think he's a free agent. He was on the Bears. He knows the system.
Yeah.
So I think he'd be a nice pickup.
Who else?
Man.
Darren Sproles and Kareth White. Ooh.
So what are your thoughts? You know, we've talked a lot of Mitch, and I know everybody wanted to tune in to see me cry about my baby. We'll do that at the end. I'll pull the jersey down. I'll hug
There were a
it,
lot of
I'll
people
cry.
that joined the call or joined the show like right at the beginning, because they wanted to see Greg cry.
I didn't have tears, so they were like, all right, I'm out of here. Back to the second slate of games. But what are you guys' thoughts on the defense? Because, you know, 3 weeks in a row now, they've sealed the deal in dramatic fashion. This time they didn't let them go all the way down. They got the interception the normal way instead of waiting till the final play of the game. So what are your thoughts here on the defense? At the first half, it was very rocky, but they seemed to weather the storm in the second half. Overall, where's your head at with them?
Eli, you want to go?
Yeah.
Sorry. I just asked both of you like you answer at the same time.
It's just I feel like it's a overall through 4 quarters a bend don't break defense, and they showed that again throughout the past 3 weeks. I mean, the Giants game was a little bit different because they shut them out in the first half, only allowed 13 points. You're supposed to win when you only allow 13 points. But yeah, I think they're just a bend don't break defense, because one series they look phenomenal, pass rush looks phenomenal. Then the next series you see, you know, Atlanta, you know, strolling down the field, and we said this in our preview of this game that I thought Atlanta was going to score points in this game. Like I didn't think our defense was going to be, you know, amazing. We're on the road. They just had a great game last week. You're going against a really good Falcons offense, even without Julio Jones. I still think their offense is really good. So I think they played okay.
Yeah.
They played okay.
Yeah.
But that defensive front, though, sorry, Bruce, not to interrupt you, but that defensive front, a huge shout out to Khalil Mack and Akeem Hicks, because people were giving me crap for because I gave Khalil Mack a shout out after week 1. And I said that his presence means a lot more than just sacks. Like that dude is important.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So they showed out in this game. They balled out.
Yeah. Well, Eli really just took my words. Just bend don't break. That's what it's been. And just to see the pressure that they got on Matt Ryan today was I think that was key, because Calvin Ridley, man, that dude is something else. And I thought it was going to be a long game, especially after that first offensive play when he caught that bomb. But just to see the pressure, the continuous pressure that they got on Matt Ryan was very impressive. And so, like Eli said, bend don't break. They made plays when necessary, especially in the second half. They only allowed 10 points, and it was them holding down the fort that allowed the offense to make that comeback. So shout out to the defense. Wasn't great, wasn't spectacular. We still haven't seen that spectacular Bears dominant defensive game. But you know what they did today against that Atlanta offense was very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, hell, you don't take away our pick six from last week, and then you don't take away our strip sack from today, and maybe you feel a little bit different about it, because those are big, spectacular plays that got kind of snatched away from us. But I mean, what do you think about Pagano? I mean, do you think he's the right guy to be running this defense right now? Because you saw the way Fangio had these guys running, and he was a lot more aggressive with his blitz packages and all that. And I mean, Pagano seems to be a bit more conservative. He is like you said, he is a bend don't break sort of guy. He's okay giving up yards underneath, not to give up the big play, even though they gave it up to Calvin Ridley right to start the game. Do you think Pagano's the right guy for this job, Eli?
It's a great question. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, when we picked up Chuck Pagano, especially back, what got him a head coach job back in Baltimore when he was their defensive coordinator, he was very aggressive. Very aggressive with that defense. And we thought with him coming in that he was going to be that kind of defensive coordinator, drawing up different kind of blitz packages. You have the blitzing type linebackers in Roquan Smith and Danny Trevathan. The defense is very fast. So I don't know why he doesn't take advantage of that speed and use it to give, the offense different looks. I did like a look, though. There was a replay that Jonathan Vilma highlighted in this game where he had, I think it was Robert Quinn and Khalil Mack on one side, and it created a mismatch with Khalil Mack on a tight end, and he made a play.
Yeah, that's cool.
It looks like that I expect more out of Chuck Pagano and not that prevent type.
Well, here's what I'll say to this, because he hasn't shown us this huge he came in with such an impressive resume, what he did with the Ravens, what he did with the Colts as a head coach. So you just thought that would be an easy, translation from Fangio. But here's what I'll say. In 2018, the Bears were hot. The Bears were always playing with a lead. They came out, besides that first game against the Packers, where they even had a lead in that game and they lost it. But, that whole season, I felt like they got out to early leads and they let the defense pin their ears back and go get them. So maybe with this quarterback switch, maybe with the offense playing with more consistency in the first half, playing with a few more leads, not constantly leaning on your defense, because every time it seems like the Bears would come off the field on offense. I'm like, all right, the Bears got to get a stop. Bears got to hold them to 3. And when you're saying that at drive after drive after drive, they can only hold them for so long, So it's not fair, regardless of the talent. It's not fair to ask that, and then you take into account field positioning plays a big factor into your mentality of how you're going to call defensive plays. So there's a lot to be desired from what the offense needs to do to help this defense out, and that's not an excuse, mate, because they got to step up in certain areas. But no, I think Pagano now has an opportunity. All of them, the coaches, all these other guys, everything's been blamed on Mitch, but the arrows started getting pointed at other guys. Pagano, Nagy, Allen Robinson's getting them sometimes now. Well, now they all have an opportunity here to say, this is how it was supposed to be. I don't think anybody's going to bash Mitch on the team, but you see a lot of that on Bears Twitter. Well, now that they have a competent quarterback, it's going to look right. Well, it looked right in the fourth quarter, so you'll hear no arguments from me today.
Yeah, that is one thing, too. You kind of saw Allen Robinson come alive a little bit when Foles got into that game, and it was something that...
Well, he had the first ball ripped out, which was...
Yes, he did, which I should have had that damn touchdown. But yeah, I mean, he was probably pissed off. I think he was probably pissed off not getting that touchdown, and he went and balled out. Because I gave him a little shit on Twitter. I was like, come on, man, this is 2 weeks in a row now. You got to catch this ball. You can't give up energy. And they stepped up. So props to them,
Yeah, that's huge for them, because those 2 drops for touchdowns are game changers. They had an opportunity at the end of the game. That just goes to show you how what's so frustrating, even when it was with Mitch and how they finished against the Lions. That's how close they seem to be to, like, I hate even saying it because it sounds so blasphemous as a Bears fan, but if we can score 4 touchdowns in 8 minutes, why can't they score 12 in 4 quarters? My Greg Man Cave math doesn't understand this. Why can't they just, we always say, well, put it together for 4 quarters. Well, in this scenario, the way they play, we're asking for like 14 touchdowns a game. So I'll take it. But man, it's like, it seems like they're so close to being
Is that too much to ask?
juggernaut not. You know, I don't know, that sounds silly but I know I'm a huge fanboy, but it does. It just feels like they're so close to, they have all the pieces. We as Bears fans spent so many years, like Jake said last week on the show, we get excited about Roy Williams. They have all the guys in place. They have good tight ends.
We were talking about.
They got a
I was
player
banging
in
the
each
drum for Allen
position.
Robinson.
Name me one position that where you're like, this dude is terrible. Get him, replace him right now. I guess it was Mitch, right?
It was Mitch.
It was Mitch.
Probably.
It kind of reminds me of Josh McCown's emergence when Cutler got banged up, and we were just like, "Is this what the offense is supposed to look like?" It was nice to see someone deliver. Now, granted, I will say, I mean, this Falcons defense was banged up, and they're bad, and they were missing 4 starters. And we couldn't do anything against them for the longest time. And then they came in and they won the game. Good for them. But I want to see him do this against Indianapolis next week. I want to see them do this against Tampa Bay. And then we can talk about it. Then we can feel good about it. At least Indianapolis. I mean, they're a good team. They got a good defense. So I'd like to see that continue. But yeah, I mean, the Falcons, they were bad, but you came back 16 down and you won. So
you guys
that was
going
exciting.
this far with Samuel Diaz? Is he the biggest draft bust ever in Chicago Bears history? I think that's a bit much. I'll let you guys answer that. Eli, you go first.
Oh man. That's a great question. I can't think of one that's a bigger bust given the other 2 quarterbacks that were taken in that draft. It's hard not to say yes.
Yeah.
It's really, and that given that he traded up 1 pick, and it's just all the scenarios around it, not just Mitch himself not being a good quarterback, the other 2 quarterbacks who could potentially be Hall of Fame quarterbacks, especially Patrick Mahomes. It's tough not to
the Sam Bowie, they compare it to the Sam Bowie move. It's a little different because Sam Bowie wasn't Michael Jordan wasn't picked 10th or 11th,
right?
But Bruce, would you say he's the biggest bust of all time?
Oh man, see, here's the thing. I remember Rick Meyer and I remember Kay McNown, and so I mean this goes back years, but
many scars, many wounds. Kevin White.
Kevin White's big on that list for me.
Yeah. But
and here's the thing about pace. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, but yeah, Mitch, he's up there. He's up there, man. He's
definitely up there.
I think, like Eli says, it's about the Mahomes thing. It really is.
That's it. Yeah.
It sucks, but hey, Nagy, you had the stones to take Mitch Trubisky and trade up to 2 to get him, and you had Patrick Mahomes number 2 on your board. You should. I mean, it sounds easy for us, but you should have done homework a little harder.
Yeah, 2020.
That's the thing about pace. Like
they get paid the big bucks
he
for.
does something like that, and he makes weird free agency decisions, and he drafts Kevin White at 7, and he does this stuff. But he also goes and finds Eddie Jackson, and he goes and gets Darnell Mooney, and he goes and gets Jalen Johnson. It's like, dude, I'm like,
well, you're picking a lot of players.
I want to give he makes me want to give him another chance to pick a quarterback.
Speaking of draft picks, I wanted to ask you guys, what's going on with Cole Kmet? Can we? Bruce, that's your boy. Bruce is the big Notre Dame fan, so it's like.
Let's see him with Nick.
I don't even think I saw him go out for a route in this game.
How many snaps?
I have to see what kind of snaps
they have
he
more
got.
trust. I was talking with someone this morning, one of my friends, and he was asking the very same thing. And I just said, it's not a talent thing to me. I've heard all the reports about how good he looks, and
in training camp,
real
I mean,
deal. But
when
you have Jimmy Graham and Demetrius Harris, and you had an offseason like you did. You didn't have much of a training camp. These guys are getting acclimated to being a professional. I think there is something to that. Not going to write him off just yet. Not, that he hasn't been out there is a little concerning, but like I said, you got 2 veterans, and I think they have a big responsibility in the blocking of the run game. You're seeing such an improvement in the run game, and maybe Cole doesn't understand all the blocking, schemes and everything like that. The excuse train will always come out for from Greg. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
think of the other side of the coin. But
No,
I
I'm
will
with
say
you. I'm
this:
with
when we
you.
drafted him, I wasn't happy because I was all fixated on getting a wide receiver because I always like skill position players over. I know tight end is more of a skill, but I always like wide receivers, and they didn't get one, so I booed when we drafted Colton Fournette. And I'm a Notre Dame fan. But to your point, when I watched Notre Dame last year, I don't dial in as hard as I do with the Bears, but he didn't jump off the TV to me. He had a good game against Georgia, so I was a little surprised they took him, but he was the best tight end available, and we needed one. So, But the fact that he hasn't been out there yet is a little concerning, but as I said, it's 3 games, no off season. It might take him a minute when you have veterans in front of him that you can trust when you're a coach like Matt Nagy. Maybe that is something to it.
He was in on that 2-point conversion attempt. I think the ball went to him and it was broken up. But yeah, I mean, he's got to get on the field. But people just talk him up like crazy. I mean, Nagy just thinks everyone thinks he's going to be the superstar. So we just got to wait and see. And maybe as we get down the line, we'll see him balling out a little more. But Jimmy Graham is that really reliable red zone guy that maybe you would see Cole Kmet a little bit more if he wasn't. I mean, he's already pulled in 3 touchdowns this year. Yeah. So, I mean, I think he had 3 touchdowns all last year, Jimmy Graham, or something like that. So
yeah,
he's balling out. So props to him.
For sure.
I got Sylvie texting me right now. You guys want to know what he texted me? This jokester.
Shout out Sylvie.
Yeah, little name drop here. This jokester. I'm calling him out on the air. He goes, maybe you can walk with Cap on Tuesday wearing a Foles jersey. He thinks it's so funny. But that same Sylvie didn't have the gumption to text me when Trubisky was named the starter. He hid for 4 days. Coward. I'm standing right here. I'll take my lumps all day long. Thank you very much. I got my guy in here always busting my balls, American Male. Yeah, I'm going to be okay. The Bears won. We're 3-0. Thank you very much. So, any final thoughts from you guys? I really appreciate all your time today. We've been having some fun with this, and Bears are 3-0, so that's what it's all about. But
feels good.
I'll start with you, Bruce. What are your final thoughts from everything you saw today and what you think about going into next week against Indianapolis?
This Bears team is the most weirdest, fun, heartbreaking, scary, lovable 3-0 team that happening right now. But with 3-0, I mean, you look at teams like Minnesota, you look at teams like Houston, who were supposed to have these good seasons. They're 0-3, and so I know you look at the schedule and you can say, oh, well, they played this team, we played this team. Look, any given Sunday, you don't know what to expect, from Sunday to Sunday. So the fact that the Bears are 3-0 and they're in first place right now, let's go. Let's keep it going. It's been fun.
Absolutely.
Yep. Absolutely.
Eli?
Yeah, I second everything Bruce said. One thing I do want to say going forward with Nick Foles is that I'm hoping that Matt Nagy sticks to the run game. That's all.
Absolutely.
I'm hoping that he doesn't see Nick Foles, who looks to be a competent quarterback, and think that he can go back to slinging it 40, 45 times.
Right.
So I'm hoping that he, sticks to his guns that he was sticking to this year. Stay run first. Go off that play action, and yeah, we'll see. 3-0 feels good.
Feels great.
Feels great. Yeah, we're all freaking 30 years less of a life we're gonna live now.
I'm saying, no more of these games. I can't.
Man, I can't. Yeah, again, you guys, just been getting to know you here in the last couple years through all this Bears Twitter craziness, and we're always appreciated your good vibes and the content you guys put out. It's all Chicago sports, all fun. Everybody likes to joke around. I'm upset about my guy Mitch. So what? But you guys do such a great job, and I always try to tune in as much as I can, and I want the fans to definitely go ahead and follow you. We've had your handles on Twitter pulled up, but why don't you let the listeners and the viewers know where else they can find you on the social media platform so they can listen to your guys' show?
You can follow us on Twitter at Deep Dishin Pod, on Instagram as well at Deep Dishin Sports. And if you hit the link in either one of those profiles, it's a link tree. It has, the access to all of our podcast, our audio podcast is made available. Also, our YouTube channel, where we just started doing YouTube videos. We're really excited about that. So we'd appreciate if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, watch our videos. And yeah, we have merch as well. So our merch is linked up there.
Yeah, I love the caricatures.
Hey, we got some
Who
merch
did all that
too, you
artwork?
guys. Hey, did you guys pick one of these up? Like, in the freaking catalog? Oh my God.
Greg,
might have to pause that one.
Greg asked me to make that
Might have
on
to toss that one
Wednesday,
God, Bruce. This is in our freaking website right now.
and it's gonna stay there.
Burn it down. Oh my God.
man.
Burn the whole thing. If only you knew the whole story.
So the whole idea is Greg asked me to make that on Wednesday, and then the marketing idea was when he goes off against the Falcons defense, we're gonna light this thing up. And oh man, did that just totally backfire?
Oh my God.
Oh man.
Don't
Hey,
show anybody that.
that Cash Mooney shirt though is nice.
It's dope.
like
I
that.
love that.
Oh,
I
we
love
appreciate
that.
that, man.
Yeah.
We
That
appreciate
shirt is
that.
nice.
Yeah.
My guy
Please
Jake here, he does
pick
great
him up.
work. This is what he does. But yeah,
No doubt.
and I saw you picked up a Braxton the Stand shirt, man.
I did.
I cannot thank
Appreciate
you
that,
enough.
guys.
That's
Thank
real.
you.
That's
No
real love
problem.
right there. That honestly meant a lot to us and me.
It's all about support. It's all about
Yeah,
support.
dude. It's
Absolutely.
lift as you climb. David Kaplan's on, and Mark Silverman, even though he's busting my balls right now, has always taught me that. So I always try to stay true to that myself. So again, keep up the great work.
Yeah,
You know,
excellent,
you guys
guys.
are doing an excellent
Appreciate it,
job,
guys.
and maybe one of these days, if we can ever get back to a game, we'll break bread and drink some whiskey and
Oh, I would
talk
love that.
about a
Please.
Super Bowl champion Chicago Bears led by Big Dick Nick Foles.
Speak it into existence, bro.
Let's
Yeah,
go,
no
baby.
doubt, no doubt, man.
I gotta make a
Alright.
Nick Foles shirt now. I mean, that is the
Yeah,
next
you got
thing.
that.
I just
Yeah.
got to think about what to do. I can't do a Big D Nick. I
Yeah,
can't.
don't do that.
It has to be something Bears centric. It's
Right,
I got to come up with something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All
So
right,
thank you
well,
guys.
we'll
Appreciate
let you
the
get to
time.
the
Thank you,
second
guys.
slate of games. Have a
Thanks,
good
guys.
one, you guys.
Thanks for
Bear
having us.
down. Yeah, of course. Bear down. So there we are. Man, wild times. Wild times. I'm trying to just come to the reality of all this. So we're going to move on
Fired
to our
up.
fan callers and familiar face from Friday night. One of our guests on our quick hitter segment that went awry. And we're bringing him back because he's the man. He's our Bulls guy, but he's also a diehard Chicago sports fan. His name is Salim Sudarwala of the Bulls Gold podcast. But he comes on as our fan caller today in our fan segment. And we want to know how you feel about all this. And are you going to make fun of me about Mitch Trubisky being benched?
Look, I'm done making fun about Mitch Trubisky. I've said it before the season starts. He's a meh quarterback. I just was like, at some point, we're going to have to come to a realization that you're not going to get much more out of him. I just didn't know when that would come. I didn't know what the leash was for Mitch. I was actually thinking that we would finish this game, and then next week, if he came out in the first half and looked bad, the offense wasn't moving, that's when Nagy would probably end up, pulling him. But I was actually surprised. I'm like, what? I had to double check. I was like, is this really happening right now?
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
My guy Georgie said he's about to get benched. I go, not happening. And it literally happened as I sent the tweet.
And I go, yes,
was
it
in
is.
shock. I was in shock. Truly. I thought in the week one, when Detroit, the same opportunity presented itself, he did not pull him. So to me, it was the exact same situation unfolding. I said in the first half, this was going to come down to the wire. Had they left Mitch in, I know there's a lot of people that will shudder at this statement. I believe it would have came down to the wire. That's who this team is. I don't care what quarterback it is. You shake your head at it, but
I don't think so.
I mean, we saw it week one, and had Mitch done it, we'd be talking about how Atlanta has all these players out, and that's why they did it, and they ran out of gas, blah 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 blah. But because it's Foles, we can talk and focus on the positive. And
You
I'm
still
all
think
about
you
that.
think Mitchell would have won that game?
Yeah, I wouldn't have surprised me. I'm not going to sit here and say it definitely would have happened, but no, wouldn't surprise me in the least. This team is such a flipped switch. It's so weird, and I hope that they develop consistency, but I'm not going to take what I saw today and say, okay, Foles is ready. Now, I'll give him the caveat that he needs time to work with his guys. He just got thrown into the Lions' den. but
Yeah.
he threw some very questionable passes that were very
Early, he
fortunate to
did,
not
yeah.
be picked. I mean, I saw Sylvie, he's giving me crap. He's like, well, when Foles is throwing 5 touchdowns. Well, with Mitch, we used to count the almost picks. He almost threw like 3 picks. The extra point was forced. You know, when they went for 2, that was a forced throw. And then the couple times he rolled out, he threw into triple coverage. So I'm not saying, hey, I hope he does what he did in the fourth quarter, but I just want to see consistency, you know, from Foles as well. And I think we
Well,
might.
we got to see what he's like with the full game, and we're going to get that
full
chance.
week of preparation, 100% ready to give him that chance.
Nick does well when he comes off the bench. So
he does. And look, you got to give him credit here, too. He kind of came in. I doubt he knew he was going to be coming into the game. So
oh, no way. Yeah.
You got to give him credit for that as well coming in. And, you know, I think even with the cobwebs coming in, he did fairly well right off the bat. Obviously, the pass to Allen Robinson was on the money. It was just another one of those frustrating plays that, like, I'm surprised Allen Robinson didn't come down with it, because in years past, he's generally been a guy that if you throw it up to him and he's one-on-one with a DB, he's going to come down with it. So that's the second time this year that he's not come down with it, has had the ball ripped out of his hand. So that was really weird. But you saw him have a really good game the rest of after, you know, in that fourth quarter, he caught one of the touchdown passes, made some good catches. I think I was listening earlier when your guest came on, and, you know, they brought up the fact that how you're seeing guys a little more open. It really could be because Nick, you know, reads the offense quicker, the defense faster, and gets the passes out quicker. So that's why maybe you're seeing that. We'll see what happens next week. Obviously, we'll see if anything changes, if we start seeing that quicker release, a quicker pace in the offense. But yeah, I think I would say that he made a difference coming into this game.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, having some technical issues here.
That's all right.
So yeah, I agree. I mean, it's all going to come down to how he performs coming off a full week of practice, because we haven't, you know, obviously we haven't seen that yet, but we'll see how it goes. So what do you think about the defense today? Because they seem to step up at the end. We've been kind of waiting for that to happen. They got gashed a little bit in the run early, but we've been wanting them to kind of finish a game, and they seem to do that at the end there. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the defense was kind of frustrating for them, where they got called for 2 bad roughing the passers, where they had the team stopped dead to rights and they were going to get off the field, but then it ends up biting them because they kind of get probably, you know, frustrated, flustered, and gassed a little bit. Obviously gassed from the 3-and-out the offense gave, and then they get the stop, and then they have to keep going again after a bad penalty call. So that kind of probably, you know, affected them in a bad way. But yeah, the defense, I do think the defense is going to be fine going forward. I think the offense is going to have to consistently pick up its pace. The defense is not going to be anywhere as good as it was like in 2018. It's just, I think personnel wise, we're missing Eddie Goldman. Just regular players aging a little bit. It's going to take it into play. So you expect the defense to still be maybe a top 10, but nothing to the point where it used to be, where you're going to have games where you know, I remember against the Rams, that in 2018 when they just absolutely shut that offense down. You're probably not going to see those type of games anymore, really, from this defense, which is not, I mean, which is what it is. And I think that's where you have to see the offense be more consistent and help them out.
Yeah, I'm hoping that's not the case. I mean, it's been 3 games. It's still early in the season. You didn't get an off season. I'm hoping that they can pull it together. And I think they can. I think they can make the difference. I mean, Robert Quinn's still getting. Who knows what his conditioning's like? His ankle was messed, so maybe he's still getting into rhythm. But I have high hopes for him, and I think it's Pagano that's the big difference maker between now and
it could be too,
and how he how he handles this defense differently than
He hasn't been
Fangio.
that aggressive. Yeah, he hasn't been that
Right.
aggressive. And especially we heard that he'd be doing more blitzes and trying to get to the quarterback more, and they haven't really done that.
Right.
Let me ask you this. I was muted up. I'm sorry. I'm doing some hustling behind the scenes. Let me
It's all
ask
good.
you this, Salim. Is this the last? And like I said, I don't want to speak injury into existence, but it is a part of the game. Is this the last we've seen of Mitch Trubisky, my baby boy, as the starting quarterback at any moment this season?
Yeah, I
Chicago
think
Bears.
I think as long as Nick stays healthy, I think we're done with the Trubisky era. That's going to be my guess. I feel like even if Foles has a couple of iffy moments, he's gonna get a little bit of a leash because in respect, we've given Trubisky a big leash for such a long time. I think he's gonna maybe get a game or so to kind of, we'll see what happens, week after. But I think I don't see Trubisky coming back again unless like you said, God forbid, an injury happens.
Well, I hate being that guy, but guess what, Bears fans? We're gonna get all the way to the NFC Championship.
Stop. Just stop.
It's gonna. That's how the Bears
it's not
are.
gonna happen.
How
Stop
did
it.
Nick Foles win a Super Bowl? How did Nick Foles win the Super Bowl? When Nick Foles won the Super Bowl, nobody believed in Nick Foles. Not one person. He was a bust. He was a guy that almost was out of the league. People go listen to the Philly fan radio stations when Carson Wentz was about to win MVP, and he gets hurt, and they bring in Nick Foles, and the world is over. No, are we ever gonna win? I hate saying it, but I can already foresee it. We are gonna get hot, and then at some point, let's just call it a small rolled ankle. I don't care what. It doesn't have to be like a debilitating, life-ending injury. And somehow, some way, Mitch is gonna trot back out there. All hope will be lost. That's just how this story's
This
gonna
is
go.
your fantasy.
That's a weird thing.
It's the reverse Foles.
Here's
the reverse.
Here's the thing. Mitch said the right things at the podium, but is his confidence still gonna be there? Because we saw what happened last year when a little adversity happened. His confidence went out the window. He was turning off TVs at Hallis. He was doing all these other things. So we'll see if he can even stays confident. That's the other part.
Yeah, that is a great point because, but maybe, maybe this benching is something that will light a fire. You don't know. I mean, different quarterbacks develop in different ways and lights turn on. Now, some people got Mitch going to the CFL next year. Others have him becoming the next Alex Smith.
Some team will give him a chance. You figure some team will pick him up to at least a camp invite to see if he can, a team that doesn't have a quarterback, like if someone that needs to find somebody to come in.
I agree. I think this is it's a huge relief for Chicago in a way that this is happening because you always had the suspicion that Mitch wasn't the guy because he didn't show it consistently enough, and he was coming up when you had to make a decision. If he plays a pretty decent season and you give him money, then that's something you have to worry about down the line because I don't know how confident you would be in him being here for another couple of years or even giving him a tag, which is like $24 million to play quarterback next year. So I think in a way it's whatever Nick Foles is. Yeah, whatever Nick Foles is what Nick Foles is. But I think in the long run, this is ideal for Chicago because they can say, look, we screwed up on Mitch. We know we did. We love the guy, but he's not the quarterback. He's not going to be our guy. We know that now. We don't have to risk giving him any money. This is why we didn't give him an option. And we can just move on. And I think that is a good thing. Whatever Nick Foles does, even if this team doesn't make the playoffs, at least
the hard
what
part
you have to do next year.
The hard part, and Shane has pointed this out, Shane Marcel from the Tape Never Lies Network, a friend of mine, he's always pointed this out, though. You're kind of putting yourself in a corner if you're Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy here, and maybe it's a good problem to have if it gets to this point, but if Nick Foles theoretically plays well and he has an opt-out and he chooses to leave for big money somewhere else, well, as a Bears fan, you probably don't want to sign him to a 5-year deal or something like some of these veteran good quarterbacks get. Because, I mean, I don't know. Unless he lights the world on fire, I think most Bears fans would be uncomfortable giving him a long-term deal. So then what? You got to draft a quarterback in the first round. Well, now everyone knows you're drafting one, like the way the Eagles drafted Jalen Hurts, something like that. But, it
Depends on how they do.
It is what it is. It's a bridge you have to worry about when you get to it to cross.
If I'm Nick Foles, honestly, if I'm Nick Foles, I put together a good season. I enjoy this team and this coaching staff.
He's the perfect target.
I know I'm going to be the starter next year. I might as well stay it out and play my next year, because why wouldn't you?
He is that type of guy, but it's asking a lot to expect players to take those kind of deals.
Yeah,
sure.
Here's the thing. Like, I'm not even thinking about that right now. It's like, look, if he plays that well, if he plays that well,
it was the same thing with Mitch. If he had played well enough to get to the playoffs and win a couple games, I would take that problem, even if it is a problem.
Yeah, and I think it's like I said, if he gets to a point where all of a sudden in the Super Bowl and he's all of a sudden gonna be a guy that look like some team's gonna offer him big money, we can make a decision at that point. But I think, to go back to earlier to Jake's point, when Trubisky, I was trying to worry about, because like, to me, I was pretty much settled in my mindset that this guy at best is a middle of a pack quarterback, and I was actually kind of getting worried that, let's say he plays good enough, just, average football the rest of the year and was able to continue to keep starting. My fear was Pace would just still be, oh, that's my guy. I love him. And then extend him to a large contract. And then we get kind of stuck in a situation where you end up having to lose other players, like on the defense, other offensive pieces, because you're making up for that salary that you increased on Mitch. So that's what I was kind of getting worried on a little bit. But
sure,
we'll see what happens now. Obviously, like I said, I think Nick is here to stay for the remainder of this season. We'll see what happens. They have to draft a quarterback next year. I mean, obviously, we're getting ahead of ourselves here for that too, but they have to draft a quarterback at some point.
The move today does put that writing on the wall. Mitch had an opportunity to still be the future of this team. He had to earn that opportunity.
Sure,
he wasn't just going to be given it. They declined the 5th-year option, so they told him, this is your chance to say you're going to be this guy or not. And now he's not. So now it is abundantly clear they are drafting a quarterback. They didn't take anyone. They didn't even undraft a quarterback. So this year, there's no question it's now coming. So Bears fans can start keying their eye on where they want to get it. 1st round, 2nd round, 3rd round. You can get a great quarterback in any of these rounds. It's about evaluating that talent. Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott, they went in 3rd and 4th round. You can get the Patrick Mahomes at 10. You can get the Russell Wilsons in the 3rd round. Our problem is Ryan Pace evaluating these quarterbacks. But, it is
this time,
he got his guy Foles, so we'll see.
But here's the thing too. I mean, the Bears don't have to draft a quarterback next year necessarily high if they like Nick and they like what's happening with that. So, I guess we'll see what happens. I would want them to, but they might think, we got a good defense with Foles. Maybe we can get a guy in the 3rd, 4th round and not worry about who is going to be the starter, because we can trot Nick out again. But I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I don't know.
It's all preemptive talking. We've seen him play for
that's the
quarter and a half.
We always want to know what's next. We don't ever want to look at what's right in front of our face as Bears fans. But Salim, we wanted to bring you on as in the fan segment. I always appreciate, like you said, all your support and crazy day, and you're always busting my chops with Trubisky. So we finally got our answer today in shocking, dramatic fashion, and the Bears get a win. So I'll take this
super exciting game.
I'll take the Bears win.
I wanted the win. I'm glad I was wrong about the loss, man. I just had bad drafts.
JJ was wrong. I tried
Everybody.
to tell them they were going to win in dramatic fashion.
Everybody, but great.
I picked the Bears 30-24. So I was very close.
Just off by 2
points.
Just delete the part on the midway minute where I said Trubisky was going to be the one to lead them to the epic comeback at the end. So again, Salim, we appreciate you being our fan here today on the fan segment, and we shall catch up with you here real soon, and we'll see where the Nick Foles era takes us, because it's off to a rousing start.
Exciting stuff.
It is.
Lot of fun.
Go Bears.
Yeah,
Thanks,
go
Salim.
Bears. Thanks for
Yes,
catching
sir.
up, man.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, boy.
Yes, sir. That's about wrapsies. I did want to say, before we go, hold on real quick, because, one thing we do on Fridays that maybe we need to start integrating a little bit, just in case, is of course, not the Bernies. Where is it? Here, we get this up. You get a little music rolling. My God.
Well, I didn't know what you were about to do.
Well, I know I'm jumping the shark.
You're surprising me.
I know.
Okay, here's some music.
Surprise. So where's my fan bags? I don't even know where the graphic is.
Good Lord. I got you.
Where's the picture?
Right here. Go ahead. Do your thing.
Oh, okay. That fan segment was brought to you by Fanbags Cornhole, Chicago's official supplier of professional cornhole boards and bags. Choose from any of their officially licensed designs, or have my boy Brian design a custom set using anything from a selfie to your company's logo. Visit www.fanbagscornhole.com and use the promo code BRAGS to get 10% off your entire order. That's www.fanbagscornhole.com and use the promo code BRAGS for 10% off. Step up your game with Fanbags Cornhole. Yeah.
Good job, Greg.
How about it? This sounds so professional.
I didn't know you were going to do that, so
well,
I had to improvise.
On our extra shows, we do it on Fridays, but he's our guy, Brian. He's our sponsor. I always want to show him love. He's always 10 toes down for Brags in the stand, so I'm 10 toes down for Brian. And make sure you guys go check out his boards, professionally made bags and boards, top line stuff. You see him on the professional circuit on ESPN. Make sure you check him out. Really quality stuff, and Brian's a great guy too, so he'll set you up.
And we're 10 toes down for Tariq Cohen, our buddy. We might have lost for the year, unfortunately, but we love him, and we.
Sad, because you see how much
won't
fun
be dancing like that for a while.
Yeah, that's really sad. And shout out to our guy Tyler Lux. We're going to have to talk to Tariq another day, year down the road. I really hope the news isn't true, but I haven't heard anything yet. But
so we got to pass this on. We're going to be able to pass this touchdown on.
Crazy as it sounds, the winner of the Brags in the Stands, Tariq Cohen dance-off competition, he's going to have to wait for that touchdown for a little bit, and it breaks my heart to say that. But at least, and I do mean this, and I don't, for the Bears it might hurt, but I'm very happy Tariq got his money and got his contract before he tore his knee, if that is indeed what happened. These guys work their whole careers to get to a certain point, and I've seen it in this city many times with guys like Mark Pryor, Kerry Wood, Derrick Rose, get to the pinnacle of their career and have it ripped away from them from injury. And it's a really hard thing to see as someone that roots for not just the team, but the player. And I know I get a lot of crap for that because I root for Mitch, but it's the same thing. I root for these guys, and I'm happy Tariq got paid. For him personally, it hurts the Bears, and I'm sad for the Bears that a contract's going to hurt if that's how it shakes out. But I look at everything on both sides.
It seems to be confirmed that his season is over.
Well, if that's the case, shout out to my guy Tariq Cohen. We are 10 toes down for Tariq, and my heart breaks for him if that is indeed the case. And I know he will come back next year.
I guess, the one silver lining here is it's week 3 when it happened. So hopefully he'll be able to get recovered and into camp on time and be ready to go for 2021. So wishing him all the best.
Yeah, wish you all the best, Tariq. We got nothing but love for you here at Brags on the Stand. So, that about wraps it up. I did, when I was trying to walk and chew gum at the same time while we had Salim on, I thought it would be fun to end the show with a little bit of, there's Heidi. I love Heidi. She's from Acapulco, Mexico, Jake. That's where she's from, and she lives in paradise every day of her life, and I'm very jealous. But
she's
Pat,
lucky.
the designer, was in our chat, and he wanted to know if I was going to swap out my profile pic, which is on Twitter, and it's a picture of me and Mitch Trubisky. And I loaded a few up. So this has been my profile pic a few times, and this is me with my lovely wife and my beautiful daughter Addison. She had just been born, and Mitch agreed to take a picture with us. Really nice guy, and you can see Mitch has got his hand on Jenny's hand, which is on Addison's butt, which was a funny dichotomy there. But so I asked some of the people on Twitter, I was like, do I need to change the profile pic to Nick Foles? And these were some of the entries, Jake. I don't know what you thought of these.
Pretty good.
You're the guy that does the graphic design.
Everyone's trying to get these out quickly for you. You got to get the hair a little bit better, but it's a decent effort.
All right, well, that was contestant number 1.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize to those that sent me these, and I'm not giving you the proper shout outs here.
A little bit better on the hair. He missed a little bit of white at the top there.
Yeah,
I mean,
see that.
the
very
pixelated, very pixelated.
He didn't change the number.
Nobody changed the number. It looked like.
Okay, yeah, you're right. None of them changed it. You're right, because there was the first one. So
that one's a little better, I'd say.
So now here's contestant number 3. See that that
looks
crazy.
more realistic.
This is crazy hair, Nick.
That's too big head.
This is
that looks like it could actually. I mean, this is probably a better blending job.
Okay.
But yeah, you missed a little bit. But that's fun. That's a good one.
Oh, so should this be my profile pic?
I think that's a good one. Yeah.
This one should be my
that should be it.
I'll do
Absolutely.
that. I'll do contestant number 3 wins. This is going to be my profile pic for the rest of the night, and I'm sure it'll get some good reaction when I put it up on Twitter. So that'll wrap things up. I've had enough. What a crazy week 3. I've lost so many years of my life. But at the end of the day, it's just sports.
3-0.
We root for these guys. We root for this team. We wear our heart on our sleeve. And the Bears are 3-0, ladies and gentlemen. And an extra team makes the playoffs in each conference. So that tells me the Bears have a hell of a chance of returning to the playoffs.
Hey, 3-0.
Winning a Super Bowl for once in our lives, Jake. That's all
What
I
is
care
it got?
about.
I think 3-0. You got like a 60-some% chance of making the playoffs at this point. So, hey, we'll take it. And the Vikings lost by a point. They're 0-3. I imagine Detroit's going to lose. They'll be 0-3. So, hey, we'll take it. Get the Saints to take care of business. We'll be sitting pretty in first place.
We'll take it however we can get it here in Chicago. We just want winning football. Consistent football is definitely the goal. So we shall see what the Chicago Bears do next week against the Indianapolis Colts. You'll have to tune in Friday next week. We'll have some special guests, a lot of fun. I'm going to be doing that walk with David Kaplan for Bernie's Book Bank. So make sure you're donating and you'll have a chance to win a Tariq Cohen signed jersey or a signed Anthony Miller helmet. Again, that's berniesbookbank.org. Go ahead and donate, and you can win some prizes. So we'll be back next Friday to talk Bears, get you caught up for week 4. Until then, thank you to Bruce and Eli from Deep Dishin Sports. These guys brought it today. We really appreciate your time. And Salim Sudawala came in for our fan segment and brought it once again. We appreciate your time, and we appreciate everybody in the chat hanging out with us. That's right, Chubbs. Let's go, Saints. That's right, Heidi. Beat those Packers. And I talked all the way through the song. So
the whole song's over now.
Well, I'll tell you.
I'll start it up again. Let's try this again. Okay.
Foles in and Mitch is out. The Chicago Bears are 3-0. Hey, bear down, guys. Let's have some fun with it. Bears are 3-0. Great show, Jake. Enjoyed the time.
Thank you, everybody.